Good. Let me tell you a little bit about, what I think gamification is really about. The video I wanted to show you, I'll describe to you. There's an event that's held around North America called We Day. And the intent of that event is to really, it gets together about 20,000 people, young people in a stadium, and really gets them excited about social change. So they have fantastic speakers, they have the Dalai Lama, they have Al Gore, they have Martin Sheen, and all of these amazing people come on the stage on the video. Unfortunately, you didn't see. But at this point, I say, here's the problem, because you've just seen the video. Here's the problem, is that we've got thousands and thousands of youth who are all excited about getting involved in socially responsible change. So Free the Children created We Day as an event to get young people involved in social change. And the challenge that Craig Kielberger explained to me was that We Day is just one day. And so while these young people, they get really excited about getting involved in social change, how do you take that and then translate that into everyday activities that are going to make a difference and make the world a better place? So what they did was they created what they call We 365. And what they wanted to do was take all of that energy and emotion and shrink it into an app and get people really engaged, involved in a community, and touching those folks every day and getting them involved in challenges, getting them involved in volunteering, and recognizing their reward, recognizing their achievements with things like badges and rewards. And it creates a community of youth that's involved in social change. So, the lesson to me is that you can take those things that really excite people, like a fantastic day of motivation, and then extend that using gamification to get people really, really involved. So, really what gamification is about is it's about really connecting people. And all of the killer apps have been about connecting people. So if you go way back to the telegraph, and then the telephone, and then the mobile phone, and then email, and then SMS, and then Facebook, and all of these killer apps have been about connecting people. What gamification really is kind of middleware for motivation. How many of you are technical people? A few, so half of the people understood that first word. It connects people with their ideas and with their dreams and with other people. And that's really what gamification is about. So when people say gamification is about points and badges and leaderboards, yeah, they're there, or maybe not. What gamification is about is motivation. Those points, badges, and leaderboards are just signposts on the road for people on their way to achieving their individual goals. Not the organizational goals, but their individual goals. And where the organizational goals and individual goals overlap, that is where gamification is going to be successful. So if you think about gamification, it doesn't do anything on its own. So that's why I say it's middleware. You don't have a gamification game. What you do is you have a gamification application that inspires people to run, to quit smoking, to do all of things, all these different things. So think about gamification as middleware for motivation. And what's really new about gamification, as I venture off into the controversial that apparently I'm not afraid of, is gamification is about digital motivation. Okay, it's about engaging people using a digital engagement device, whether that is a mobile phone or a Fitbit or a Nike iPod sensor or whatever it happens to be, it's a digital engagement model. And now, a lot of, basically all of the other elements of gamification have been around for a long time. So, if you think about badges, the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts have been handing out badges for 100 years. The military has been handing out badges called medals for more than 1,000 years. Weight Watchers uses actually a very, very similar kind of model to a lot of gamification applications. But what's different about gamification is that it uses a digital engagement model. And what is the advantage of that? Well, a couple of advantages. First of all, scale. You can scale a digital model, you can scale an app to virtually any size at virtually no cost. So the incremental cost of adding a user is much, much lower than face-to-face models. It can bridge time. The digital interactions are asynchronous. Again, the technical half of the crowd understood what I meant. For the rest of you, that means that they don't have to be there at the same time, right? It spans distance. So thanks to the internet, digital interactions are available anywhere for anybody, and it increases connectedness. How do we connect digitally? Well, I can see, about half of you are looking at your mobile phones connected digitally right now, aren't you, right? So with social networking, your friends are nearby all the time. And so this is really what a digital engagement model does, and when you apply digital engagement to motivation, you get digital motivation. And at the core of what's new about gamification is that it's really about digital motivation. Let me give you one example. I want to kind of delve into the Weight Watchers example. Now, what happens at Weight Watchers, right? Has anybody been in Weight Watchers? No, you don't have to put up your hand. Okay. What happens, so I'll just explain it to you. What happens at Weight Watchers is you set yourself a weight goal, a weight reduction goal, and they give you a diet and they recommend exercises, and they send you off for the week, and you go back to a meeting, and at the meeting you jump on the scale, and hopefully you've lost a couple of pounds, and everybody goes, yay, and it's all good and fantastic, and it's this great face-to-face interaction model to motivate people to lose weight. Now, let's take a look at how Weight Watchers kind of ranks up against MyFitnessPal. Weight Watchers has been around for a little more than 50 years. It has about 1.8 million members. MyFitnessPal, which does a lot of the same things using a digital interface, has been around since 2005, and it has about 50 million members. Weight Watchers has 56,000 employees because it takes a lot of people to run these meetings, right? MyFitnessPal has 75. So what does this mean? Well, let's take a look at how that works out, and let's take a look at Weight Watchers' stock price. Okay, so this is Weight Watchers' stock price over the last 5 quarters, and let me just explain. You see those steep drops, like steps? That's the quarterly report. That one, the second one where it actually didn't drop, well, they got lucky there. But let me explain each of these drops. Okay, so in the first drop, and that was in the February of 2013, there was a 17% decline in stock price and a 14% decline in meeting revenue. Now, most of Weight Watchers' income comes from meeting revenue. So 14% decline in meeting revenue, 17% decline in stock price. We had the next quarter, which was kind of okay. They bumped along, but then they got to the quarter after that, and they had a 19% decline in stock price. The CEO resigned. Then the next quarter, they had a 20% decline in stock price, and they announced that they were cutting dividends. And at the next quarter, they had a 28% decline in stock price, and free apps and fitness monitors, like free apps like MyFitnessPal and fitness monitors like Fitbit or Nike's Fuel Band were blamed. So what do we learn from this? Is that a digital engagement model extends engagement with low cost. And it's really about digital business. So it's really, gamification is part of a digital business strategy. And in a digital business strategy, what we're doing was we're blurring the digital and physical worlds. So this is not like e-business. E-business was about creating a new channel to sell your goods. D-business is about creating entirely new business models. And now when we think about, and we build the presentation as the future of gamification, when we think about gamification, we have to think in terms of the context of the future. Okay? So gamification will advance over the next 5 to 10 years, but it's not going to advance alone. And we have to think about the combinatorial effect of how things are going to advance. So let me just talk about some of these technologies that are advancing over the next 5 to 10 years, things like smart advisors, so Watson kinds of things, the Internet of Things, where everything is connected, from your car to your coffee pot, mobile robots, autonomous vehicles like Google's self-driving car, 3D printing. They're going to be printing houses soon using 3D printing. Augmented reality, you know, like Google Glass or what pilots see. Sensors will drop to, you know, less than $1. Drones, so, you know, Amazon talked about shipping stuff with drones. That will become a reality. Big data, virtual personal assistants. This is your personal assistant that's virtual. I'll talk about her or him. Gesture control, so the computer can see you move. And, of course, gamification. So in this world, in this future, atoms begin to behave like bits. In other words, they are highly configurable, highly customizable, and we can make basically anything we want, anywhere we want. So if you're IKEA and you have, you know, all of your stuff made in low-cost countries, designed in high-cost countries, shipped all over the world, that may just change. You might just you might design your kitchen yourself and send it to a local fabrication shop because atoms behave like bits. Machines are smarter than people at some things. Okay, so there should be a little asterisk there, at some things. Because if we look at, you know, IBM's Watson that can beat the crowd in Jeopardy, we need to think about machines being smarter than people. Everything becomes connected, and motivation is delivered digitally. So we're moving into a world where it's not just gamification, but it is the combinatorial effect of those technological advances plus gamification that's going to make a significant impact on the world. And let's just talk about some examples. So let's talk about education in 2020. Right now, education, most people in the world do not have access to higher education, higher quality education, because they are geographically or financially disadvantaged. But with MOOCs, we've now opened up that, you know, fantastic educational materials and made them available to people all over the world. But what's the two big problems with MOOCs? Well, the first big problem is that you've got an 85 to 95% dropout rate. So most people who start, they don't finish. One of the reasons that they don't finish is because most MOOCs are not accredited courses. Well, we can solve both of those problems because what we need to have accreditation is we need to know who is answering the questions. So with things like facial recognition, we can figure out who's answering the questions. We can also dissect the answers to those questions, so we can grade them by using speech recognition technology. The other thing is that, you know, to keep people motivated, we'll incorporate gamification into that model so that we are really engaging those people in a virtual environment versus a physical environment. So my hope, my vision for the future is that gamification combined with some other technologies is really going to, you know, make equal opportunity for higher education all around the world. And what that is going to cause is a massive shift for those institutions that have a, you know, stranglehold on higher education today, and what we'll see is we'll see that universities, smaller universities, lower cost universities will struggle, and we'll have superstar professors, like the Michael Jordan of science, and those kinds of things, because we've got this highly leveraged model where we're going to be educating people. Okay, let's talk about innovation. And how does gamification really interact with people? Well, if you look at a flock of geese that are grazing in a field, it's sort of a Brownian motion. They're all just randomly looking around and doing their own thing, right? But once they take off, they form into that typical V shape. And gamification does just that. It turns a crowd into a swarm by providing simple rules and a direction to follow so that people can be engaged in all kinds of activities, like scientific research that we saw with Foldit. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with that example. Or like product innovation, like we see with Quirky, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with that example. And, the development of public policy. I think with Congress's approval rating at all-time historical lows, that we need to understand, has representative democracy really, run its course? It was good, but perhaps what we need is to move towards a more participatory democracy setting. You won't, if your running buddy, John, doesn't happen to be there. Unfortunately, John isn't available to run today because he's in Japan, but you can still run with John because that digital and physical worlds become blurred. So you see John, you see an image of John in front of you running. Unfortunately, he's 20 yards ahead, but he's giving you some encouragement. He's telling you to look good, and he's doing that from Japan. So, enabling that motivation and connecting people with motivation and blurring digital boundaries is really what gamification is all about. And I want to talk about your future with Sam or Samantha, depending on your preferences. How many of you saw the movie Her? A few, quite a few. Okay. And Sam is kind of this coy, voice in the operating system. Well, Sam, as a virtual personal assistant, she's going to be like, she or he is going to be this super smart, super capable helper. And she's going to do things like help you with your time management, help you with your personal chores. So she's going to send the drone off to the dry cleaners to pick up your clothing. She's going to organize your travel and accommodation. So she's going to not just book your airline flight, but she's going to be able to tell how much traffic there is between here and the airport and say, Tom or Brian, you have to leave now because there's a lot of traffic on the highway. She'll organize your correspondence. She'll do background research. She'll interact with your clients and colleagues or their personal assistants, family and members as well, so that you can make sure that you've got appropriate time in your calendar to balance your work and life. She'll also interact with your virtual physiotherapist, which is going to be prescribed to you by your doctor, who will take you through your physiotherapy routines, like your personal trainer, and your virtual career coach, who will guide you through developing your skills in your career. And the good thing about, for anyone who's had a career coach, they say, it's somebody who's forgotten more than you will ever know. Well, your virtual career coach, because it's a computer, will have never forgotten anything. So, what you're going to be dealing with in the future is this kind of a world. And how does Samantha motivate you? Well, she is working on the things that are really important to you. It's not about points and badges and things like that. But she's going to be looking at your work balance and managing your work-life balance and saying, you're really doing quite well in terms of your contribution to the team, the development of your skills and talent, the quality and the production of your work. Your centimeter is like way over here, so everybody's really happy with you. You've got 7 kudos, kudos. You got a badge for being an innovator for that great idea. And because you're taking your bicycle to work, you got the CO2-free badge. And because you've been so productive and so efficient, delivering such high quality, the point system that Samantha is going to use is not going to be meaningless points, but she's going to tell you, hey, you've got some time credits. We're going to count points as seconds. You're so way ahead in your work. Why don't you take the long lunch and go and have lunch with your kids at the school? So you say, great idea. You're on chill time, not on burn time. And you go out and you have lunch with your kids at the school, and your wife calls up Samantha, and she's super thrilled that you're spending so much time with the kids. She's organized a romantic dinner, and it looks like you're going to level up tonight. So, we're all motivated by the same things we've always been motivated by. So, a couple of recommendations. Imagine a world, when you think about gamification, don't think about just gamification. Think about the entire world. Understand not gamification and not just in isolation, but how the world is going to change with disruptive technologies, social and economic trends, and really understand what are the limitations and opportunities for gamification so you can unleash the power of gamification to digitally engage and motivate the masses. And have a look at my book, which is just out here. I'll be around to sign it later. Thank you very much.